Okay, it's 6:31, Monday, July 19th. We're all here for
Recording in progress.
Sorry.
Okay,
Tried
we're
to
all
time
here.
that.
So, let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Stanley used to say, with life, liberty, and justice for all.
Out of sync.
I know, and he did it that way every time, so now I get to that part and I'm like, where's Stan? Am I gonna screw up?
Yeah.
I always like mumble my way through it. Okay, so we have some warrants in front of us. Jonathan, you've got probably one of the largest ones of the year related to general operations.
Yeah, it's a pretty hefty amount here for the general fund warrant, dated 7/19/2021. The biggest item on here is a couple paving lines. It's our annual paving stuff. It's around 530,000, I believe, altogether. Something like that. St. Albans Historical Museum for 15,000. So I'm going to make a motion. We approve this general fund warrant in the amount of $633,502.35.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So, Carrie and I spoke a little bit about that warrant today. We're getting roughly 170 or so thousand back from that paving as part of a grant that Alan got with regional planning for Class 2 town highways. I think it's for Georgia Shore.
Actually, it's not a regional planning one. It's a V-Trans Class 2 grant.
Okay, that's it.
Yep. He
Okay.
might get other grants. I just don't want to
Hey,
confuse.
if you tell me I don't have to give regional planning credit for something, I won't. Anyway, sorry about that, Aaron. On that note,
All right, for payroll, we have one warrant in front of us. It's for, it's dated, well, it's for the period of July 7th through July 11th, for the amount of $24,544.73. So pretty normal, average payroll. So I'll make a motion to approve this payroll warrant.
Second.
any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
I've got three. I've got the infrastructure development warrant in the amount of $15,838.27. It's all within our operating contracts with Freeman, French Freeman, and Peterson Consulting. And then we have just a $225 invoice from our attorneys. So take a motion to approve that infrastructure development warrant dated July 19th, 2021 for $15,838.27.
So moved.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we've got a Stonehouse warrant. The Stonehouse money is in its own segregated checkbook. This is us reimbursing the Firefighters Association for the vouchers we gave out at the Great Race for a free hot dog or hamburger with their entry. So it's just one invoice to the St. Albans Town Firefighters Association for $885. And that's, if you were curious at all, it's 177 vouchers. 151 went to hamburgers and 26 went to hot dogs at a unit price of $5 a piece. So that's the economics behind hot dogs and hamburgers.
It's an interesting split.
So
Yeah.
moved.
Okay, we've got a motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
That worked out really well, Alan. It was awesome. Everybody that after the race was walking around with beer from Mill River and some food from the Firefighters Association. We've got an industrial park warrant that's actually normal for this time of year. It's dated July 19th, 2021. It's for $630.90. It all goes to Green Mountain Power for the sewage pump, which is the largest one, and then the road sign light, and then the road lights. So that's $630.90, dated July 19th, 2021. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
So an update on our pumps. We have one back, and we're waiting for the other one, is my understanding.
Yes.
Okay.
It's en route, and Alan can probably, well, he can explain in detail if anyone wants to know, but apparently they're giving us some upgraded blades as well as changing out what they found was a manufacturing defect. So they're using us as a test to see if the improvement will help make it last even longer.
All under warranty.
Yes, yeah.
Perfect.
So is it tested, or is it just gonna be sitting on the side
Oh, no,
in case?
we're gonna
something
put it
happens?
in and test it, but we have two, so there's some
Gotcha.
redundancy
Okay.
there.
Perfect.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just didn't know how it worked. If it sat on a shelf, so to speak, so.
No, no.
Oh, this is all
no.
and the issue that we run into is all of the fats and processing issues from Barry Callebaut and Ben and Jerry's primarily. So these pumps were actually engineered by aerospace engineers, and it's a propulsion pump that sucks through the fat and actually cuts it. That's what Carrie was referring to, the teeth. It cuts it up and shoots it through the line to make it easier to handle on the rest of the system. So we've got two of them. They were $160,000 for the two of them,
Mhm.
and they both failed under warranty, and now we're getting them back. So,
New and improved,
Yep.
Hmm.
hopefully.
So we've got some minutes in front of us from Monday, July 12th, just last week.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from July 12th, 2021.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Perfect. All right, public comment. We don't have a member from the public here. Sheriff Langevin used to be, but as of a couple weeks ago, he's not anymore. So we'll move right on to agenda item 5, the town manager's report.
Awesome. This is quick. 7 minutes into the meeting. So I put police services on the agenda to discuss a couple things. One of them, though, since Sheriff Langevin is here, was to have the sheriff here once a month so he can update us on any big trends or things that they're seeing. The other is want to go over the sheriff's portal that we have so that the public can access some information. And there's also a separate one for, the select board that has some other information on it, that I think you have information on. So I'm gonna ask Sheriff Roger Langevin to come forward, give us an update. They started, as many are aware, on July 1st, right before Bay Day.
Yep. And we're busy. We're right out of the blocks. I sent Carrie a report. I don't know if you shared it with them, but
I did.
motor vehicle work is, and we expect it to be, the bulk of our work out there and stuff. From that, we get a lot of people on arrest warrants. We get a lot of drivers who are suspended, and we get a lot of impaired driving. Just this past, I think it was Sunday at 7 o'clock in the morning, we had DUI, alcohol. A little later in the morning, we had an impaired driver with drugs, and we got drugs out of the car along with some cash. So those are things that all are kind of a nice byproduct when you do aggressive motor vehicle work. But aside from that, things are going well. As Carrie was saying, we have a portal that's select boards have access at a higher level. The public has access at where they can see all the calls that we've responded to, the nature of the calls and whatnot, and yours are a little more detailed as to where we're spending our time. But short of that, it's early yet for us, but if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask it. So, I'm looking at it, so it's almost 40 things a day then.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
normal? Do you expect that to be high, low?
Well, we have some motor vehicle gurus, if you will. So a lot of that is self-initiated, and we're performance-based there. So my deputies know that the better they perform, I guess the more they're going to get in their area of interest for expertise and training. So it's not that there's competition, but you have some people that are more aggressive than others. And that's where the bulk of those calls come from, self-initiated car stops. So, the speeding
That's right.
and the
That's right.
headlights and that type of stuff.
Okay.
If there's one thing that I get throughout the county, it's that they want to know that the police presence is there. So I encourage the deputies, hey, get out there, turn a blue light on, let them know people, you're there and stuff. For as many things like moving things out of the road or doing, a lot of different stuff. You have an opportunity to turn your blue lights on, and it just reminds people that, geez, the police are out there.
Do you want to share some of the follow-up program you started? Just
Yeah.
a little bit about that.
With the domestic type incidents that we go to, and also if there's any mental health issues, we'll follow up within 24 hours. We want to kind of make it our practice for the deputy that was investigating to follow up with that family, and just make sure that they're connected to services. If they haven't connected from the previous call, why not? Do you not have the information, or is there something more we can offer and do? So do some follow-up with those types of cases to kind of assure us that we're not gonna go back on a repeated basis and that they get the services that they need. You know, in some cases, let's dial it up and let's handle the phone. You know, we're gonna go to that route, that access to be able to connect them.
Hey, I've noticed the presence around town. I don't know. I know Jonathan's on the road a lot. Seems like every time I'm on the road during the day or at night, I come across a sheriff's cruiser. It's you know, I guess I can't say that it's more than SAPD because I wasn't necessarily looking for them, and they've been around for 10 years. So you see them, it might not register as much, but hey, I have no debate in my mind that we're definitely getting the coverage we're paying for. So.
You know, I just remind people that when they say that to me, it's like, you know, we have 4 deputies that are working each day, and they're out there. They don't leave the area, you know, so they're making 2 or 3 trips around the same developments, you know, throughout their shifts and stuff. So I think it does make a difference when you don't leave. We had a call that was at, I think it was Hannaford's, and Captain Grismer was telling me about where within like 40 seconds we had a deputy there because he happened to be on that side of town when the call came in. It's like, and I can remember from previous experience where I used to tell those people that I supervised, like, be in your area of patrol so you're not traveling to get there. You know, that short distance response time means a lot.
Yeah, it does.
So it's nice when they're in their area like that. And of course, in St. Albans Town, we're always in our area. So it's an advantage to us.
I just had a question, maybe a couple times you've used the term like aggressive traffic stop, just for the public, like when you say that, what does that mean in the context of traffic stopping?
Well, speed-wise,
Yeah.
you know, everyone has their different discretion that they'll utilize. Like I remember when I was on the road, I had a certain number that would be my tickler, you know, and everybody has that. And in the areas of high pedestrian traffic, that type of thing, I want that to be a little tighter, you know, so I want it to be a little more aggressive, not that, you know, X amount of miles over the speed limit that normally gets your attention, but maybe a little bit more. Certainly as you're coming into St. Albans Bay here and stuff like that, traffic has got to be calm.
So the aggressive part is more on the engaging in when there's an incident, not incident, but engaging with whatever's seen, as opposed to, I think, I'm just thinking the term aggressive sometimes might be confusing for folks.
Yeah, and it's not aggressive in that sense. I guess
Right,
the
right.
tolerance
Yeah.
level is a little
Okay.
bit tighter.
Yeah,
you know,
right,
for,
right. Yep.
with the hazards that could be in the road in that area.
Yep, thanks.
One more question? If that's
Sure.
all right. When I was looking at the website the other day, there was something called the residence checklist.
Yes.
Can you tell me about that?
Yep. If there's somebody that's out of town or something, they can
Mhm.
call us. They can get on our list and stuff, and we'll do a patrol. You know, you can get out and walk around the house, type of thing. If there's an alarm system, we know about it. It's on our list. You know, but we'll check the houses.
I mean, I saw the form. That's exactly what it sounded like. I had no idea that was available. So
Yep.
if someone's out of town for a week, probably wouldn't hurt to fill one of these out.
Right, or all winter. You know,
Yep.
that type of thing. They're gone for the winter. We put them on the list, and that goes on our patrol list to check.
Perfect. Yeah, we should probably let people know about that.
Yeah. Corey, we should probably let people know about that. Okay.
This is about dogs. You guys feed the dogs?
You feed the dogs.
For a donation to the right charity.
Just keep going.
Twice a day, a walk.
Water the plants. It's all good.
I thought you were going to talk about our dog. He's doing well.
No, they don't feed the dogs, for the
Gotcha.
record.
Okay.
We expect him like in August, possibly like search and rescue certified.
Mhm.
If you want to pay him $60 an hour, they would probably walk your dog.
Probably separate contract though.
I'll watch your
It
dog
would,
for
it would be a
$60
separate
an hour.
contract, yes.
I get the only question I had written down when I was going through my packet was, what's the police advisory board up to? What are they, or committee? What are they working on?
We're putting together the first survey. Our hope is to go out in September. The first survey will look at a draft next meeting, and it's hoping for September, March. You guys asked them to do 2 surveys a year, so we're hoping September, March becomes the cadence, about 6 months apart. March obviously being town meeting day, so we can have ones that people fill out as they go. And this one will probably be more of a online one, but I think, you know, until we see survey, you know, our first meeting with just the sheriff's department was this month. So the first few months was kind of getting our feet wet, and then, you know, kind of letting the city PD kind of relieve the scene. And now that Rogers, the the sole provider moving forward. We're not in a transition. I think, you know, they're brief meetings, so be reviewing reports and then looking at what the results of these surveys are and see if there's anything interesting. They know that the first couple surveys are really just, you know, there's not gonna be a trend for the first one or really the second one. So, you know, we only meet for about 45 minutes a month, so.
Well, it's good that you're meeting on a monthly basis and keeping it regular, though. That was part of the reason why our other one. Oh, we don't have anything to meet about. Let's go to quarterly, and then let's go to semi-annual, and then why not meet? So that's good to hear. One thing we had talked about a few months back was reviewing all of our roads and our speed limits and anything where we could do some maybe shoulder work or like inexpensive pedestrian infrastructure if there were any life safety concerns. And I'm wondering if we want to open that can of worms in the fall after we might have some traffic stop data to review, you know, see where people are getting picked up and, you know, what the problems are and why that might be. And, yeah, I mean, so would that work for you, Sheriff?
Yeah, right now it's, our crash data, if we were to look at that, is kind of sporadic. You know,
Right.
we've had it on Little County Road, we've had it up the end of Kellogg Road, Lower Newton, we had it on McQuam Shore Road. We've had some in the north end, but there's no real area of a high volume amount of,
I think you literally
crashes.
named like every road I had on my list for impairments or high speed limits. So right there. So it seems like we're pretty well on the same page. We might even be able to start talking about this a little bit in August. But yeah, I mean, we've got the budget that's going to dominate most of October. We'll still have our regular meetings, but we try not to keep our agendas too heavy, considering that we'll probably be meeting 4 times that one month. So maybe we could try to have something wrapped up for, you know, the winter. And
You're not gonna be able to wrap it up that cleanly. It'd be great to tie it up in a bow, but we have to do that initial work and then also include regional planning, some traffic studies generally, and to change a speed limit.
you
There's
need a
some
traffic study to.
if to change a speed limit, from what it currently is based on, I think you have to have some sort of engineering.
Even on the town road?
Yes, yeah.
If we could research the statute around that so we could all read it and understand it, that'd be great, because it seems like every time we want to do something, regional planning is kind of a roadblock, and I'm not.
We can pay for our own traffic studies if that's what you would like. Absolutely, we don't have to do that, but you do have to have some data to indicate why. Like, what problem are you trying to fix? Just saying that you think it's too fast isn't enough. You have to have some data to prove one way or the other whether it's too high or too low.
Yeah, if we could look up that statute and maybe see what
And the
qualifies
statute
as-
to confirm whether we have to have a study or just how you change the speed limit.
Yeah, how would we go about doing it, and what
Yep.
prerequisites are required before we can make that process
Mhm.
happen?
I think
Yeah.
there's a few intersections that need to be addressed throughout the town. I don't know if speed's a real issue through most of the town roads. I think they're all pretty
Couple
much
spots,
good.
maybe hot spots here or there,
Like
but
down, and I know I live right there, but where Pat and Crosby and Little County and Church come on to Georgia Shore
Mhm.
Road, like every day there's people that don't stop for that stuff. I mean, they just race straight through from Church Road right on to Georgia Shore Road. Like, it's daily.
Alan actually, when this was brought up before, was talking about working with somebody on analyzing that intersection.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
Like, I gotta stop and like ease out real slow because people don't even, they just straight through. I'm like, what?
Yeah,
You know,
it's-
It's like is
Like
it a
I-
4-way intersection,
Yeah.
non-traditional.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
right?
It's
we kind of have to
Yeah,
develop
it's
a
a-
roster of
not a
impairments.
clean
Yeah.
intersection at
It's
all.
horrible.
Prioritize
Spider
them.
web.
We almost need a capital plan for infrastructure related to roadway impairments. I mean, at this point, if we're really gonna fix it all, I mean, how many generations of people have said that intersection down there is fine, it'd be too expensive to figure out?
Well,
We
and
just
then
paved it. I mean, we know better.
We bring the town hall down there, and that's gonna bring increased traffic. I mean, I think that's one of them that needs to be addressed as we.
So this
Like
intersection
today.
down here that we had been working with Jim Coda from V-Trans to renovate pre-COVID, we got after V-Trans a few weeks ago, didn't get a response. Got after him again last week, and we removed through a couple people. So we're on to someone who claims that they can help us. So we're reigniting that process. But that's an intersection that we need. That's an impaired intersection that we're trying to get fixed on our dime in
Yeah, I
exchange
watched
for.
a person with a New York plate at the Bay Store, and they came off Georgia Shore right on the 36, or McQuam's or whatever, it never stopped, like, and they didn't even look, like, up towards the city, they just kept going, like, I'm like, wow. Of course, the stop sign's hard to see, cause it's way
It's
over
in an
by
odd
Chuck's
spot.
Steps, you know? So I get it if you're not from around here, it's just,
I was gonna ask, those types of things, like where there might be hot spots or any types of things, are those questions that are on that survey, Corey?
No, the survey is a federal community policing survey that we're gonna take. It's about 30. I think it's high 20s, low 30s questions. We're gonna work
Wow.
on about 12. Just people won't take that long of a survey, but
If you narrow it down to 12, can you add 2 asking?
But we need to figure out first how we do it, because I mean, when
Yeah,
I've
true.
changed a speed limit on a road, I've had to do a road safety audit. It involves, well, with a V-Trans road, it involves like 20 people from V-Trans, but to get that information for you first before we decide
Yeah.
to put it on a
Yeah,
survey.
makes
I mean, I'm thinking more if we
I
know.
don't remember all the questions. If it's not on there,
Yeah.
we can talk about it. They do ask, are there certain parts of town where like you think crime's high, so we can just add in a question very similar, like.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I mean, the first step before we need to go to statutes and change things, maybe is just enforcement. I mean, trying that first, right? I mean, if there's
That
lot of
does change
activity
behavior a
somewhere,
lot.
That changes behavior. So just
Yeah.
seeing a police officer.
Yeah, I mean, if we
Often.
know,
Makes a difference. Yeah.
yeah, if we know like McQuam Shore has a high volume of pedestrians and people often speed, maybe we need to, you know, set up regular stops. And they had a very effective one at the Swanton Town Garage. They would park a Swanton Village Cruiser there and catch people coming up the hill at 50 miles an hour. It's 35 until just after MVU, and then you can go 50 all the way to Highgate. Those of us who, you know, drive up that road every day usually sail through it around 48, you know.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you get picked up, they stop you and say, we're not gonna give you a ticket this time, but.
Speaking for a friend, right?
And then every time you go through there, it's like, your foot can't be light enough, so.
Well, there's one I know on the top
Okay.
of Lower Newton. I think there's a police officer maybe works in South
There is.
Burlington, and
Mm.
their car's parked right across the way. And I'm telling you, it's a pretty good deterrent. Every
Yeah.
time you drive down, you see
It
that
is.
Should we make it
nose of
a,
it sticking out. So
should we do a budget line in next year's budget to start buying police cruisers at auction? And we can letter them up and just park them in different areas of town?
pay different people. Yeah.
Just don't even put like a, you know, have
might be
Yanks put
off
some kind of a.
off base there.
No, no, you're right though, because it
Well, I
does
know.
work.
It's just seeing. Yeah, the
Yeah.
presence makes a big
That
difference.
South Burlington cruiser has been there for years, and
Mhm.
you know, people drive. You can see it. Everybody taps their brake lights as they come around the corner and head down the hill.
Mm-hmm.
They see that and they go, "Oh crap!" Right when they get to Fonda's headed to 6 and stuff. And it's easy to sail down that hill, build up to 40, and then just keep going 40 all the way to Lower Newton. But that one little cruiser that doesn't cost the city a dime.
We have a good setup with most of the towns that we patrol in where the, select board will let the town manager know, and the town manager will call us and say, hey, Roger, can you pay attention to this street and this street?
Mhm.
We're starting to get complaints and stuff, and.
Correct.
And we'll direct our patrols for the next couple of weeks there, where the issues are, so. Jonathan, if that's where you say there's an issue, is nothing, we can set somebody up there to straighten that out. And if there's a time of day that's better than others, just the more specifics we can get, the more effective we'll be.
Education.
Tomorrow night, Swanton is having their presentation on McQuam from the consultant, so I'll be interested to see if they talk about speed on the northern part. But I know just from walking on Georgia Shore versus McQuam, it feels so much safer on Georgia Shore because their limit, I think, might even be 25 or 35. It's definitely
like
slower.
25.
It's 25.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of think all the way from Swanton Beach all the way down to maybe even Sampson's Point, Montaigne Road area probably needs to get dropped. I mean, Lower Newton probably needs to be 40 the whole way through. Allen, remember? Lower Newton's a 40. It's not a 40, it's a 50.
Well, what is it? You got me confused now.
I
I think it is 50.
It is 50.
Yeah.
Allen thought it was 40. We had to send each other pictures of signs. But you just can't. You'll never live that down, Alan. Every time it comes up. So yeah, we're gonna work on that. If you can help us out, that'd be awesome.
Yep.
That's good.
I think that's it.
I got one quick one
Okay.
one. You know the speed limit radar, the little
Speed
trailer,
cart?
the
Yep.
speed cart. Do
Yep.
you guys put those up? Are you putting those up in the town at all?
Yeah, we haven't used it much yet this year and stuff, but we certainly can get it out. and
I just
running.
didn't know if that was like part of your plan, at some point
Yep.
you're gonna roll it out.
Yeah, we can do that. We move it around to all the towns that we patrol
Yep,
and stuff,
yep.
so. We usually keep a pretty good schedule where it is. We leave it for a week and move it around. And, yeah, we'll get it out.
Definitely a presence increase, yeah.
There's a lot of people that slam on their brakes when they see it.
And they do.
Well,
It
but when
slows
you
them
There's
down,
just as many
you
people
know.
that slam on the gas to try to make the lights go off.
that's right.
though.
When you read the data, you see the high flyers. And
Yeah.
they fly by.
Well, they know you're not coming. I mean, they can't get me. But yeah, it'd be interesting.
Never say never.
Maybe if you know somebody in one of these areas we've talked about, you can park it on their lawn and let us know what they notice. But small town, we can work together like that. Anybody else have any questions for Roger?
Feel free to call.
Thanks, Sheriff.
Thanks.
Thank you.
For the budget. Talk about the budget.
The budget, just briefly, if there aren't there are any specific guidelines, that's fine too, but we're gonna begin actively building our budgets for next year.
I guess
Just trying to be preemptive, I guess I should say.
my one comment would be every line item over 10,000. Like, if someone asks, why do you need that much money and what do you plan to spend it on the next fiscal year? If we can answer that question, that'd be great. It's like, we've got 36,000 in building maintenance under either your budget or Alan's, one or the other. It's like, we're gonna have new buildings. So do we plan on doing like some work at the fire department, or do we just need that big of a budget because we have multi-million-dollar facilities and things break? And like, it's like, I don't know. And that's a reasonable question. Somebody looks at the budget. You spent how much on maintenance, and we just built you new buildings. Why? Like, I don't know. But yeah,
Because we also pay for carpet cleaning and window cleaning, which probably with a new building, we won't have a lot of carpet to clean, but that's also included in the building maintenance line.
nice. And that was just an example. Like,
Mm-hmm.
anything that
We have a $4.5 million budget, so is that a consensus of the board that for every line over $10,000 you want a budget justification?
No, I don't want like a written budget justification. I just want to know that whatever we're budgeting is for a specific purpose. Like, we need that much. Like, it's good, just so that it's defendable.
You
Like,
see any line item that's 10,000 or more?
I'm not
already-
like dictating that. I'm just saying.
No, what I meant was I thought I heard you say any
That's
ones
what
that
I-
were increased by 10,000.
No,
No.
any of
Okay.
them that are like large is just understanding why. Like, as long as we know why we're budgeting, and the answer's not because we've always done it that way, I guess. Like, 5 years from now, ideally, I'd love us to have a budget that reflects our goals. Like, we're gonna repair this intersection, so we have this much in this budget because we know this is gonna cost this much. And we know we need to replace these 3 computers, so the IT budget in the next year is the 3 computers plus this. Or like, whatever, you know? It seems like we've got buckets of money to pull from, which has been great as we've tried to like rebuild. We've had different areas to pull from to solve different problems, but as we get the organization kind of on solid ground for the first time in a while, it's shifting to, you know, more operations driven.
I don't know about first time in a while, but I can certainly provide detailed transaction reports for every single line item to see where your money's been spent.
Yeah. I mean, to have it,
Just to
just to
know.
have one copy of it, because
That'd be fine. That'd be fine.
at budget time, you can just,
Those are tied into your payables that you approve every 2 weeks.
Right.
so
Yeah,
I
but-
have,
And by solid footing, Anna, I didn't mean financially. I meant like as in
No,
our.
I understand that, but it's all about transparency, and I get that. I get that.
but for every line that's over 10, because I really can't just go on what
10
you
might be way too low. It could be 25. Just anything that's a big pot. A quarter penny on the grand
Well,
list or large is 25.
I mean, at this point, I think I like Anna's idea better of just having a
I think I
detailed
do too.
transaction of everything, because one line, I mean, I actually think there should be a select board miscellaneous line, so if you have a project that comes up in mid-cycle, which comes up almost every meeting, we can have a budget for it. We can say, hey, what do you want to spend? You should have money. Like even Georgia, who's super conservative when I was there, had $5,000 select board miscellaneous
and they
budget
wouldn't
line.
give it to. Never mind.
No, I know, but so that line anything comes up, you're like, I don't understand what we're doing. I do have an answer in my head for every question you just
Every
brought up
single one, yeah.
as an example, but I don't know if you really want to know that. I think there's probably only like half a dozen lines you really
Right.
might spot check, for
Yeah.
instance.
If we could see the
Yep.
payables report, that would be,
Mhm.
yeah, that'd be really eye-opening, Anna. That was a great idea.
Well, and it's visually very satisfying.
Yeah.
Like, it could be death by 1,000 cuts. You know, we spent $10,000, but it was like $100 at a time. Like shopping at Costco and spending $500.
Yeah.
How'd I do that? But you look at the receipt and you quickly realize how you did it.
It just gives us a better understanding
Yep.
of the operation.
Okay, that's fine.
And how
That's
the budget works, and
Mm-hmm.
it makes these reports mean more if we know, like, this is where that gets pulled from.
And honestly,
That's why.
I can do it. Anna's faster, but either one of us can do that on any line that you might happen to think of or see in the budget and go, how did we get to $4,600 on that line and we're only 3 months into the year, for instance?
Right.
We can do that.
That'd be neat.
Yep.
And that's available to all of us.
Well, I mean, it's traceable. It's pretty easy. That part is pretty
Oh,
easy.
yeah. Making the software work for us.
As much as we can.
Yeah, as much as we can until we
Yeah.
get a new one. But
All right, that's kind of all I was looking for. I mean, I don't have, if you
Yeah.
think of something, do you?
I was just thinking
Okay.
with the budget, I know, last year, you know, we certainly were, being very conscious of being as flat as possible because of the increase in the policing services. You know, as we're looking at the budget this year, I think there were some things where we may have, you know, different departments may have said, okay, we're gonna get by this year without buying X, but we do see a need for it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if that means that there's an increase and not staying flat because we have to actually go back and buy that thing, you know, I would hope that we're still gonna be looking back at what we said no to or did not do, last year and thinking about how can we work it in this year or in the next year as best we
Mhm.
can.
Well, I think the big driver in keeping the budget flat is going to be whether or not we want to implement the DPW equipment fund, and if we want to, you know, so we need to raise about 300 grand a year to fund that. We give the right now we do an annual transfer of 125,000 to the fire department, and that's how we fund their equipment purchases with cash and never have to take loans or pay interest. And to set up Public Works to be able to be the same way, I think we did the math and it's about 300,000, which is
Mhm.
about 2.95 cents on the tax rate, which is almost 10%. So I think we've got to have a discussion on how we want to approach the voters with that, and if now's the time. I think now probably ought to be the time because it'll be the first year in a while where they don't have a multi-million-dollar budget in front of them, or a budget for a project in front of them. And I think we're talking budget policy, get in the weeds for a second. You see other towns pull their tax rate into 5 different line items on their tax bill, and you have like local agreement, Department of Public Works, policing services, general government, and you saw that we created a infographic for Facebook to illustrate people where do your taxes go. I'd like to see the tax bill reflect that more, just because a lot of folks, the only opportunity they have to really reflect on what the town's doing and what they pay for it is when they pay their taxes, because they're so darn busy they have no time to get in the weeds with us. And it helps, you know, quite frankly, it helps make our tax rate as low as it should look. And then it's more transparent, and okay, so we got a big rate increase, we're gonna pull out last year's bill, and oh, okay, so our tax bill's up $200, but policing services is up 10 cents alone. Why is that? I'm gonna do some research on that, and now you know what cost center drove it. So there'll be some discussions in budget season around that, but I think we should start talking about the DPW equipment replacement fund, what we want to call it, how we want to approach the voters. You almost want to approach them like we always have with the fire department and ask them to approve it for like a 10-year period, and then add it to the tax bill and not our rate. Like have DPW, general operations, DPW equipment replacement, general government, whatever we come up with. But that's definitely like a 3-cent tax increase that we'll have to implement at some point, and we may want to go to the voters without, I mean, we have the authority to just say we're going to do it, and we're going to raise taxes by that amount. We'd have to include it in the budget that the voters would approve. But yeah, that's something. So yeah, we're already looking at like 7%, and Rogers contract's down 100,000 from this year because we're not buying equipment. So that eats a penny of it, but only for a year because it returns to present level by the third year of the contract. But yeah, I don't think we've deprived Alan of anything. He seems to always get what he wants.
Let's
I don't
not
know.
go there. We're not talking about DPW right now. No.
Yeah.
I just
We
gotta
will
ask
look
that-
at equipment though, seriously.
no,
There's some
definitely.
replacement schedules, there's some infrastructure projects, all on the table again,
Okay.
back on schedule, hopefully.
I know a week or two ago, we put out the infogram, which I think was really helpful for people to see where it's going. Do you, Corey or Carrie, do you know how much, using that example of a $250,000 house, including the education taxes, which everyone see at 80% of it, how much did someone's taxes go up year over year on a $250,000 home?
I figured that out, and I think with our tax rate on a $250,000 house, it was $43 a year for a homesteaded property. If you divide that by 4 quarters, I mean, it's not much.
No, I feel like it was more than
That was
that.
our local, the
So,
town's.
That was the town's
with
portion,
the-
not the
Right,
ed
the
portion.
town's portion only, the town's portion only.
Yeah.
How much is it?
The-
And I know, obviously, we're not responsible for the school, but I'm
Education
just thinking.
portion.
So I've got the answer to your,
About 3
Okay.
bullets.
yeah,
how much-
$342.50.
I'm saying, because, people look at the bottom line, that's all, I'm just.
Our rate
Is what it
between,
is for us.
our local rate went up 1.7 cents, and we had a lot of discussions and lost some sleep over it. The education tax rate went up 12 cents,
Yep.
so
And that's the
13.7.
pinch, right? Like 12 cents is almost a third of our budget. And, the conversation obviously we may have had on at the state level and everything, that the runaway cost of our of our K-12 education system really puts the pressure on local communities, because our budgets will start to go down based on their budgets, because people can only pay what they can pay.
Right.
That's right.
And people are generally happy. When I saw the comments in the infographic, they're generally happy where their tax dollars are going at the town level. The school tax is where people are frustrated. And honestly, they need to be educated. I mean, I'm going to speak as Senator Corey Parent here, so not to get the town in trouble on a comment. So, the school did say taxes were going to go up 12 cents, but they hit it in almost fine print writing in the 8th page of their book this year. They need to be transparent and put that out there when you're voting on that school budget. It would have gone down in St. Albans Town to 12 cents then there, and they'd have to have dealt with it. And I think schools and municipalities need to be really clear on what's going to happen to their tax rate when people vote on it. And that's a legislative change I'll be looking to make for the next year, especially with school districts. And there's more changes coming. I mean, this new weighting study in Montpelier is projected to raise taxes in Georgia as high as 50 cents. So there's a lot coming to communities our way to fund education, and it's not looking pretty. So we'll be hard at work on that front.
And that's a lot of the things I've seen for the last 25, 26 years is our tax base rate's been really, really low, but the school tax rate has risen. So it's like we try to do projects, but the school tax rate is so high that we don't put projects. We try to keep our tax rate.
If the education tax rate was more stable, we would not have a local option tax in St. Albans Town. We'd be using property tax dollars to fund these improvements. We've already gone outside the box and raising almost $1 million in an alternative consumption-based tax in an effort to curb property tax increases, because our school system is so expensive. And we, as elected leaders, have to bite our tongues and say the voters approve the budget and we're going to pay for it. It's not necessarily our place to, tell the school district its business, but it is our place to educate our constituents and let them know, if they don't already, how voting for budgets impacts their tax rate.
For example, had we raised 12 cents, we'd have $1.2 million extra in our budget of what we actually spent. I mean, that's how big it is on our grand list, roughly.
Right. Be over that, actually. my only comment related to the infographic, which was great, and staff came up with it by themselves. When I saw it on Facebook, I'm like, this is awesome. Been looking for that for a while, and to see it was great. I think we should adopt, not a written policy, but kind of like a rule for social media that any comment with a profanity gets hidden as soon as we can get to it.
We have a policy already, and that's what we do.
We don't do it though.
We
We will now.
If there's actually swearing, AJ's aware of it. Maybe newer staff isn't aware of it, but we already have a policy because VLCT actually gave us a template for
There were some expletives directed at the school district.
Oh, well, we can get those removed.
I don't want to throw salt in any open wounds is all.
Absolutely not okay to keep that on there, yep.
Got it.
So yes, we do already have a policy.
Perfect. Works
It's
already
really
done.
short. You might want to revise it and make it better and more robust, but it's one page, I think.
Are they still up now, you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
There's only like one that comes to mind, and it was a gentleman saying, I have no problem with the town. I think our town tax dollars are spent really well, but this expletive school district needs to figure their
Oh.
expletive out. It
Oh,
wasn't
yeah,
like-
we don't need, I mean,
Yeah, it
it's
doesn't
not
contribute
on our
anything.
town.
we don't need the rhetoric to get quite that
I
heated.
appreciate the sentiment toward the town, but
Right.
to the school district, we gotta kind of probably hide that. Like, too bad you can't edit people's comments for them. It'd probably be a little too far.
It's a good thing you can't edit people's comments.
Yeah, it probably is.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme
We
of
just
things.
don't allow that, so they're free to comment again if they wished without those things.
So, we talked a lot of things budget related. Do we have
Anything else?
we
I'm
wanna-
good with that, and I don't have any other surprises for you.
Can we like work for our second meeting in August to get the DPW equipment fund in front of us, just so we can start to understand it before October comes around? Just like what's on it and how much it's gonna cost, and maybe look at a tax rate implication.
Well, it's too early to look at a tax rate implication, because there's a lot of moving parts within our budget. It might mean that adds X, but we've,
Well, no, I'm talking just for that portion of it.
Okay,
Like,
well,
it's
we're-
gonna cost this, and at this year's grand list, the tax rate
Mhm.
increase would look like that.
we'll
Just to
see
set
if
a
it can
baseline.
be at that time. I mean, it's pretty much already formulated, but.
Yeah, that's what I thought, so I figured we could freshen it up, maybe look at it over, see if any of the equipment's inflated in the last few months like everything else.
We won't, I don't know if we'll have that. It's hard to get people to respond to you at this point, because we're feeling the tightness of the job market everywhere we go. I mean, Alan just went to order something recently, and it's like you wait for someone to call you back, and they're doing 3 people's job, and nobody's applying for them. It's kind of happening in, I feel like, every sector, so
Well, I know,
some of those numbers are but we can get you what we have now.
we were just somewhere last week, and the proprietor of the business said this is the first time in our history we've had to close 2 days a week. We're closed Monday and
Yeah.
Tuesday because we don't have the staff to stay open. Like, we'd love to be open, you know. We see it on our security system that people come up to the door thinking that we probably are open.
Yeah.
And you see the same thing. My family up in Newport owns a restaurant, and they're thinking about closing for January and February for the first time ever. It's all staffing related, so we're lucky it hasn't. What's that, Corey?
I was gonna just ask an equipment fund thing. We have the one we did last winter, based on the next 10 years, but operationally, I mean, do you want us to think about alternatives to, like, do we replace lawnmowers with electric lawnmowers? Do we replace trucks with electric trucks? There's gonna be certain costs that
Mhm.
go on.
Well, I don't know
Are there
that
any
we.
policy goals from the select board to make our fleet more environmentally friendly? You know, we have the rough numbers, but there are other things I think you guys should think about that we start planning, because 10 years is a long way, but like electric Ford F-150 is coming next year, and that's gonna change, you know, the dynamics.
Look at it. I'd be more concerned about like all these invoices we approve for streetlights and power. We spend like tens of thousands of dollars a year with Green Mountain Power. What's that?
47,000 on electricity.
Oh, so you've been to this point already.
Mm-hmm.
What's that?
Oh, I can, I mean,
No,
Yes.
you're okay. We're good now. So 47 grand. Let's get some solar panels somewhere and see if we could offset that cost, and if there's an investment we can make with like a one-time cash injection to build so many panels, and there will be revenue neutral for 5 years, and then, well, we pay it off or whatever, and then 5 years from now, all the power in town's free. I don't know if there's a way to look at that, but
That's a different project than this.
definitely.
We'll add it to the list. Sounds
So
awesome.
So in August, do we want to look at our 4-page list and kind of cross off what we've done and maybe add a couple more and get a progress report on the ones that are going? The priority thing we approved back in April or March.
You wanna do that in August as well?
We're running out of months. We've got October's booked every Monday.
I didn't think that the 26 or 28 list item was, an annual list that you wanted done in the 12 months.
No, but there's some things that are.
Okay, we're
there's
not
some
running
things
out of
that are-
time then, we're just gonna.
No, it's just an update.
Okay.
There's some things that are done and there's
Okay,
maybe
no,
some
I'd
new things to put on.
Love to
and-
celebrate that, but I just,
Yeah.
like,
Well,
I
I
didn't
think
run
there's
out
gonna
of
be a few
time.
items we can't get done because we don't have the budget for it.
Right.
So
Well, let's talk about
especially
that.
if it
Yeah.
remains a priority, you ought to budget for it.
Well, that's
Mhm.
kind of where I'm at with that. Talk about it in August, think about it more in September, make sure it's an actual priority, and then cultivate the budget proposal in October and be prepared to defend it all the way through town meeting day. I mean, I'm good with that, especially if we go with this. I mean, if we're gonna look at a tax increase, we should break up our tax rate on tax bills. That's the best camouflage we have for a rate increase. And if we can be more transparent about why we increased it by breaking out the tax bill, I don't know. I'm not totally sold on the idea that we have to go to voters to fund the DPW equipment fund. I think we could probably just do that within the general fund budget proposal and then maybe put out some press and social media posts about why we're doing it and just be over. I mean, everything we've done the last like 3 years has been making sure we don't work backwards to having 11 articles at town meeting day all related to like, are we gonna fund a $7,500 lawnmower for the Parks Department and then also give $750 a year for 10 years to fund its replacement? Like, we wanna move away to being more, this is our budget, this is what we spend it on, do you approve it? And, you know, big purchases go before voters and, you know, cause if they approve, you know, the budget or a separate article, depending what we decide, and we fund purchasing all the pieces of equipment that are in the capital plan for a period of 10 years, that means for 10 years we're never asking them to buy another truck. Like, there will be no, do the
Mhm.
voters support 140,000 for a plow truck, which is a step forward, I think. But
I just want to mention, getting back to net zero that you were talking about, if you take a look at St. Albans Town Educational Center, they've had those solar panels on, I think, for, gosh, 3 years, and it's paid for everything and given back to the grid.
I wonder if we could put our panels on top of SATEC. They have a lot of roof space open. The infrastructure's there,
We have land at the DPW garage too. It doesn't even have to be on our roof.
right?
We talked about it before, we just didn't hold up that project
We
for
could
it.
designate something a preferred site, maybe.
We could, we have to go through the process.
We're not competing with anybody, we're just trying to cover our own need.
Correct.
Which is, I mean, you're right, I mean, we've gotta make these steps. EVs are the way of the future. And
Mhm.
we might wanna, in 2 years, I could see the town budgeting $30,000 a year. If EV stations are $10,000 a piece, we're gonna go pick off 3 a year. And every
Yep.
year, we justify the $30,000 by saying this is where the 3 of them are gonna go. We're gonna start working on permits now, assuming the budget's gonna pass. By May, they're gonna be implemented, or July, or whatever it is.
Mhm.
And we're gonna get to that performance-based budgeting of this is why we want it, this is how much we need, this is when we're gonna do it, we're gonna get it done. And it's like, the budget season will be talking about how we're gonna fund the projects we've been talking about all summer for the following summer, while the projects we talked about the previous summer and already funded are being implemented. And when we get to that point, it'll just be like a snowball of progress.
Yeah, I think this conversation's exciting just because with the experience of being on the planning commission and wanting to do, projects related to sidewalks and other pedestrian projects, and if we don't budget the money, being in the, planning commission, you're not doing the budgeting work, but I think having the conversations about what projects we wanna do, what kind of policies we wanna put in place, and then talking about it in relation to the budget, as opposed to just looking at the budget as a snap in time. Not that that's what we're doing, but there's usually a capital project of some kind that we're talking about, but yeah, I think this is a really productive direction that we're heading, and,
Well, it's budgeting based off of a policy direction instead of making policy based off your budget, which is this paradigm shift we're getting to.
right.
And when we get there, it's going to be exciting because we have, we're going to have $700,000 a year or so unrestricted in the local option tax. And if, that's a pot of money we can look to pull from. So it's not even that we'll have to raise property taxes every time we want to fund something. And once we look at our finances from a global perspective, as an organization, we have this income in these pots. These are what they can be used for. These are the policy directions we want to take. And we can kind of budget off of that and use different sources appropriately.
Mhm.
But all in the name of getting things done.
Right, and not having to always rely on what grants are out there, are we
Right.
gonna get them, can we move forward?
Well, we just funded $10 million worth of buildings with only a $2.5 million note that'll be paid off in 15 years. And if we really wanted to, we could have waited another couple years and paid cash for it all. So that's roughly, we're going to have $750,000 a year to play with. Knock on wood that our economy stays strong and the income keeps coming. I mean, that's just in one of our income streams. There could be money in the general fund that, we want to cut in one area and redirect to another because our policy directions have changed. I mean, we could want to go to a 12-year paving schedule as a means of giving more funding to parks. I mean, I don't know what we'll come up with, but it'll be fun to have the discussion. So, and Anna's been awesome. We've connected since our last meeting a couple of times, and we're on the same page. Anna, you're awesome.
I just had hopefully one more quick, sorry, Anna, but, one more quick question. Are we planning on, I know we had a meeting with the planning commission in the past to talk about kind of shared goals and projects. Is that, on the table for 2020, or is that something, or 2021, sorry, I know what year we're in, or, do we want to do that around budget time, or is that something we typically do afterwards? I can't remember when we.
We typically do it in the spring, I
Okay.
think, based on what was going on, and I did talk to Brendan about this, and,
We've been
I think we skipped it more or less intentionally, and doing it at budget time isn't helpful. I think doing it 6 to 9 months before budget time is helpful, so maybe we could move it up instead of, I was thinking April, could be late March.
At the planning commission level, they're going to take a comprehensive look at our bylaws, which will take a lot of time, as you know. I mean, they've got the full plate, but next spring we should loop them into, what do we need to accomplish in 2023, and what should we be doing for research between now and our budget cycle to get us ready to budget for the things we want to accomplish. And I think one of the things we're going to find is if the more progress we make, the more IT solution we'll have to implement and the more staff we may need to pay for to accomplish it all. But I don't know. We'll find out, and we're going to have to make decisions around, do we want to raise more money or make less progress? And what does less progress look like in the, I don't know. But it'll all be good things. So, anybody have anything else for budget or general policy? We branched off a little bit from budget a couple times. Couple.
Who's counting?
So schedule, we've got Monday, August 2nd and Monday, August 16th. And then I don't think we have anything else. Are
Correct.
we doing our regular employee appreciation Bay Park?
We are, I gotta ask Jen about the date. We usually go 3rd or 4th week of August,
Yep.
on a Tuesday if possible. That's when almost all of our employees, even the ones that work a few days a week, are here. So we were gonna do that. We're gonna try to do that. I don't think he watches this meeting, so we're also gonna celebrate or say a few words for Bob Ware, who's retiring at the end of August. That's traditionally when I try to do that, especially if somebody's leaving in the summertime. Have a more fun event, although we did have, it's been great meeting at DPW in the garage when we didn't when we couldn't meet close, but yeah, we're hoping to do that in August.
Perfect. So we get date.
We have to coordinate with our chefs, 1 and 2. Alan
If there's any way, Alan, that John can make
and
those
John.
those brisket egg roll things that he makes for that, I'd be willing to make a contribution to the food budget to see that happen. I've been,
Yep, he's awake, he's shaking his head.
Yeah. that'd be cool.
So yes, we will.
So my report is that I'm looking forward to the brisket egg roll things that John makes at the employee thing.
She's food motivated.
Yeah,
No.
always. The St. Albans Museum thanks you for the $15,000 a year annual contribution. That's over 10% of our annual operating budget alone. We have less than $100,000 on hand, and like $84,000 is an SBA loan. So we really appreciate the contribution. Our cash on hand just went up 100% effectively. It's actually the 50th anniversary of the St. Albans Museum and Historical Society in 1971.
Wow.
And there's a appetite among our board of trustees to approach the city and town and ask that our annual contribution be increased from $15,000 a piece to 50. And we're calling it the 50 for 50. So we've proven for 50 years, and this is the board of trustees and that general thought process is we've proven that we can be responsible stewards of public fund and assets for 50 years, and we're looking to be put more on par with the library. If you look at our budget alone, we give the library about $0.015 on our tax rate, which is about $150,000, which is 10 times what we give the museum. So there's definitely an appetite to have somebody other than me, hopefully, approach the city and town to maybe discuss around budget time. I think our board at the museum would be grateful for the response of, we're going to put it on the ballot, go educate the community, and if it passes, it passes. We're willing to take that work on, but that's me in an awkward position, but that's something that we're talking about. So just to put on your radars, you'll probably see us back sometime in September or October. Hopefully not me, but that's all I have. And we tackled everything. I wanted to bring up roads and get touched up on that. And, Carrie had already beaten me to the idea of talking about policy in relation to the budget. So does anybody have any other business before we move into executive session?
I just have one item. I can't remember. I tried looking back through the minutes, but I couldn't find anything. Up on French Hill, we replaced that section from Alvogel just past Fred Lake. And I thought this year we were doing like just a small strip just past that. I thought when we talked we were going to do that. I was wondering if that's still going to happen.
We did talk about it. I don't remember, Alan, exactly what your schedule was. I know the paving schedule got moved up, and we took it when we could because we didn't want it to avoid having to come back in October. Were you planning on doing any section of French Hill this year?
Can't hear you.
You're on mute.
Muted.
No, he's unmuted himself. His microphone doesn't work.
Oh. Well, we'll have to get back to you then
Well,
if his
anyway.
volume doesn't work. We
Sure.
did talk about it, but I think with all the other things going on, I know it wasn't going to happen right now, but
Right.
it's actually a great fall project.
Just because I don't, I just don't want it to get forgotten, because I think we need to keep going with
Well, I think
that.
we were doing that ourselves, and so I know that they did
Right.
not have the bandwidth to
Right.
do it in June.
I've got a 3-year-old constituent that lives on Bluff Lane that reminds me how bad of a road French Hill is almost weekly.
I don't know if I accept that feedback. I think
Well, 'cause
the
it's
first part,
bumpy. It's not
the
bad.
first
It's
part
just
of French
bumpy.
Hill is pretty good, actually.
Well, no, because I drove up last winter
Yeah.
just because in the wintertime, like February, March is when you can really notice it.
Of course,
And
yep.
I talked to a couple people up there, and it didn't seem to get as bad
Correct.
as it typically does last year, but that was, the year before, it was horrible.
Yep. No, I asked Al Vogel, actually, who lives right past that.
Yeah.
I said, how was it in January and February? And he said, really, it went wonderfully compared to previous years.
But I think we need to just
I
keep
think the year
moving
before
forward
we
on
had a
that.
firefighter responding and
45
a piece of
minutes.
fire apparatus hit their helmet off the ceiling of the truck because they took a frost heave so hard. I think it's probably not a safe road, but
It's a good
we've
question.
been talking
I don't
about
know.
fixing French Hill since before I was born, so if we can make progress on it, it would be good.
We did last year.
We did. We made a lot of progress
No,
last
it's
year.
beautiful. It looks good.
The parts
You
that we
should
did.
follow the school bus. It's great.
Flatten it a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. I
Just,
don't-
just one other thing though,
Okay.
those two mysterious barrels of fluid out behind the salt shed at the old DPW are still there.
Okay,
If we can get those taken care of before somebody decides to rupture them.
We need a couple more monitoring wells. You see how expensive those are. You like rip off a Band-Aid for $7,800 once, and then you get to rip off 3 more for 10 grand.
No, thank you.
It is what it is.
I'd rather spend it on something else.
But you'll hit your deductible at some point, and you won't have to spend more.
Right.
I was trying to give you good news.
Every year the deductible probably gets raised by the feds too.
No.
I don't know. That's speculation, but
I just don't wanna hang a brownfield sign up there or something,
I hear
in
you.
front of Thauna's.
What well they got a bunch of government money to pay for that. Maybe we should.
Don't say that.
So we need to move into executive session to discuss a personnel matter, a couple personnel matters. If anyone would like to make the motion.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session to discuss legal, contractual, or personnel issues where premature general public knowledge of the subject matter would place the town at substantial disadvantage. Further move to,
I was thinking of it.
oh, I don't have to keep doing, all right.
You can, yeah, paraphrase them.
I'm gonna invite the town
And
manager.
we'll invite the town manager.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Northwest Access. Have a good night, everybody.
So we